very good afternoon to you. You're watching Times Now Live. I'm Pratibha. Well, viewers, let's get you the top updates now coming in from the court with the Chief Justice now saying that Waqf by user, as the defense comes in, the CJI says not saying all Waqf by user is wrong. So it's a power-packed hearing that's underway in the top court on the Waqf Amendment Bill. As we speak, Kapil Sibal is continuing with his arguments against the Waqf Amendment. In fact, in the latest, the Chief Justice has responded to Sibal's defense of Waqf by user and the role of collectors. The CJI has said the government can impose limitation, but we cannot say that it is unconstitutional if limitation is imposed. In fact, Sibal going on to say, if they say that this suit has not been filed within 2 years. In fact, the discussion is currently ongoing in the top court of the country. Kapil Sibal going on to say that there are many that are saying Waqf by users and they will be getting a claim by adverse possession. To break it down further, my colleagues Priyank, Sabyasachi are joining us on the broadcast. Dipankar is also on the broadcast with us. Priyank, what are the details of what has happened in the court? It's a power-packed hearing on Waqf. Several petitioners, including political parties that had approached the top court against the Waqf Amendment. Take us through what's happening in court.
Yes, certainly very important hint which has come out from the Apex Court now that the court has said that the High Court is very much capable of hearing this matter, and the High Court has also shown in the past that how they have dealt in this kind of sensitive cases. But while talking about that, the CJI also said that you cannot say that the work by user can always be a wrong thing, because when we were in the High Court, we were also told that that particular land also belonged to the work property. So I beg your pardon. So Mr. Singhvi has also said that even the Oberoi Hotel is also part of the work property. So the CJI is certainly making remarks on the argument which is coming out that any property which is belonging to work and the users can be doing the wrong thing. So by just saying that you want to register a property with the work name, it will be making a wrong interpretation, and all those users who have been using the work property cannot be treated as wrong, because even the Delhi High Court is made and constituted on the work property. The argument is still continuing. Mr. Singhvi and Mr. Rajiv Dhawan, the two of the junior lawyers, have been talking about that the viewpoint of the petitioners who have approached them and who have been telling them to represent them before the Apex Court. But the two takeaway pointers which we can sense that the Supreme Court has made this observation that any work property by the user cannot be treated as wrong, and the registration of the property of work cannot be taken at wrong. It can help in the due future. Okay. And the CJI has also hinted out that the High Court of Delhi is capable enough to deal with these kind of matters. Okay, all right. So Dipankar is also with us. Dipankar, has the Chief Justice said that there is a genuine concern about the same? What has the Chief Justice said on what is happening in the court? Because the petitioners have made the same claims that they have been saying time and again. Take us through the details of what the top court has said.
Well, the top court has clearly showed concern regarding the claims that were made by the Waqf that the High Court is on the property of Waqf. So these are clearly, the Chief Justice of India has said that these are very concerning remarks that were made. The CJI has said that when we were in Delhi High Court, we were told that the land is a Waqf land. Don't misunderstand us. We are not saying all Waqf by user is wrongly registered. So these are very clearly what Chief Justice of India has said, but he has also showed concern about the claims that are made regarding the lands that are there, that a certain piece of land is a Waqf land. So these are very clearly remarks that have been made by the Chief Justice of India. The Chief Justice of India has also gone on to say that stay should not be argued. Basically, Mr. Singhvi, who's representing one of the petitioners in the matter, Senior Advocate Abhishek Manu Singhvi, when he started arguing on the aspect of stay to be applied on the Waqf bill, the Chief Justice of India has very clearly said that do not argue on stay. So it shows that that the Chief Justice of India is keen on hearing as to what the matter is, and is very keenly saying that we'll have to decide as to whether the Waqf bill should stand or not, but stay argument should not be argued before the Chief Justice of India. On the first day of hearing, this is very clearly the Chief Justice of India has indicated that there shall be no stay arguments that will be heard by the Chief Justice of India or the entire bench that is hearing the matters regarding the Waqf board. Over to you.
Okay, all right. So when Singhvi began arguing for the need for a stay immediately, the Chief Justice saying don't argue for a stay. So that's what the top court has said, saying this was while the discussions were going on. Waqf by user also coming up in the discussion, with Kapil Sibal also coming up with that defense. And Sabyasachi, this is going to be very significant politically as well, because this is a charge that the opposition has been making time and again, and they went to the top court, though the government on its part has been saying that it was in the proper way that the legislation was passed in the parliament and became a law.
Well, that's right. See, that is a very point which Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, who's representing the centre, says that it's a well thought out legislation centre, and this is not simple legislation. After initially placed in Parliament, JPC was formed, lot of consultation has gone into, and what is being presented is not the exact proposed scheme. Now the central government clearly says that around 1 crore of representation was put across during the JPC meeting. Hours of JPC meeting had taken place on the representation, and the way the Waqf bill was scrutinized, no other bill has been scrutinized in such a manner in the past, and record-breaking time discussion had taken place in both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and the centre clearly has followed all the process and procedures which are required to pass a bill. Now, on the other hand, the central, what the opposition are saying, that the opposition is saying that clause by clause discussion never took place regarding the Waqf bill, and some of the clauses are unconstitutional, and that is the very point which, whether it is Abhishek Manu Singhvi or Mr. Kapil Sibal, all of them are raising regarding the inclusion of a non-Muslim in the council, and also giving a lot of power to a government officer, that is the district collector, that he would decide, he or she would decide whether this is a Waqf property or not. So that is some of the major point which the opposition is raising, and the opposition also says that how can the centre decide that if he or she is a Muslim or not. So these are some of the point, and also some of the articles which has been mentioned by the opposition, like the Article 44 or the 25 or the 26, which is the right to practice religious activity. So clearly these are some of the important points which the opposition have been raising, both outside the court. Now Abhishek Manu Singhvi and Kapil Sibal are categorically mentioning these points as well.
Okay, all right. In fact, Priyank, in the updates coming in, it has been mentioned by the Solicitor General as well that you're dealing with a legislation where there was a constitution of the JPC. It held 38 sittings, and there were visits in various cities as well. This is one point that the government has been making time and again as well. There have been discussions in the parliament, both Lok Sabha as well as the Rajya Sabha, previously as well after it was introduced. Even a JPC had been formed. This was in fact one of the demands of the opposition.
Yes, Pratibha, the court has also been apprised about the fact from the SG, Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, that this is not something very casual. There was a deliberate, deliberation which happened, where there have been series of meetings which also happened. The JPC formation happened. JPC also had 38 sittings. They have taken session of 28 lakh people so far. The JPC and the discussion which happened in the Parliament, both the houses of the Parliament, has been an epic one. This kind of detailing didn't happen in any of the cases. So these are the pointers which have been apprised to the court. But look at the few takeaways which has come up from the court so far, where the court has already given an indication, a hint, although the order has not come out, that the High Court is certainly capable enough to deal with these kind of matter. And the court has also said that any work property by the user cannot be taken as a wrong property, and what is the point and what is the problem in registering the property. But Mr. Sibal and the other petitioners have been talking about that the interference of a non-Muslim in this work board is certainly going to hamper the right of the Muslim, and this is going to hurt the feelings of around 200 million Muslims who have been staying in the country. But in the parliament also, this thing has been discussed, Pratibha, that if someone who is a legal luminary, like the collector of a district is the DM, he is a well-educated person, he can go through the religious book and he can certainly pull out the fact which can work in the favor of people. Prime Minister himself outside the parliament has also said that this will help in protecting the rights of the Muslim. This will certainly protect those property which has been donated for the right cause. So these pointers can be discussed in the later stage, but so far the main petitioners have been arguing before the court. The SG has just started making his submission. The court has already given an indication that the High Court is capable enough to deal in these kind of matters. Let's see what is going to happen next, because they have been series of petitions. Whether the apex court will hear all the petitions or he will will only listen to the senior lawyers like Rajiv Dhawan, Kapil Sibal, Abhishek Manu Singhvi, to get a sense of what exactly the petitioners want to put forward before the court.
In fact, Dipankar, while mentioning Waqf by user, the Chief Justice made a very interesting observation by saying that we were once told that the Delhi High Court is also on Waqf land, and it was after that that Singhvi himself also admitted that yes, we had also heard that the parliament was also on Waqf land. So the absurdity of it, which has been mentioned by the government, also finds a mention in the court. So much so that even Abhishek Manu Singhvi says that yes, there was a mention of the same about the parliament as well belonging to the Waqf.
Well, yes, these were the remarks that were made by Mr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, and certainly by the court, where the court had said that the Chief Justice of India has said that while he was in the Delhi High Court, they were told that the Delhi High Court itself was on the Waqf land. So these are the concerning remarks that were made by the Chief Justice of India, who showed concern regarding these claims that were made by the Waqf, by certain people regarding the High Court being on Waqf land, or the Oberoi hotels, or the Parliament being on the Waqf land. So CJI said, while addressing these remarks, had said that we are not saying that all Waqf by user properties are wrong, but there are some genuine areas of concerns too. So clearly it showed that the Chief Justice of India was concerned regarding certain remarks that were made, regarding certain claims that were made regarding the properties, the centralized properties. So these were the remarks that were made by the Chief Justice of India. Currently the Chief Justice of India is being apprised by the Solicitor General of India, who's informing the court that the Waqf bill that has been brought out is a very well thought out legislation, and that it is not simply a legislation. After it was placed before the JPC, and the JPC had done a lot of consultation. The JPC had 38 sittings and had visited major cities, held consultations, and considered lakhs and lakhs of suggestions before bringing out the Waqf bill. So currently the Chief Justice of India is being apprised by the Solicitor General of India regarding the Waqf bill, and after hearing the arguments of the senior advocates like Kapil Sibal and Abhishek Manu Singhvi and Rajiv Dhawan, who had appeared for the petitioners. So currently the hearing is still going on. As to what further developments happen before the Supreme Court, will have to wait and watch. But the arguments are still going on, and certainly the Solicitor General of India is apprising the Supreme Court regarding how the Waqf bill is appropriate and should not be delved into by these petitioners, and that the Waqf bill should be upheld. So these are the arguments that are currently going on before the Supreme Court of India.
All right. So we continue getting these updates for our viewers on what's happening in the top court. But these are some very, very significant observations that have been made during the course of the hearing in the Supreme Court. Ms. Geeta Luthra is joining us on the broadcast. Thank you for joining us. Ma'am, what do you make of what the CJI has said during the discussions? Not just as Waqf by user come up, but the CJI also observed that even the court had been told once that the Delhi High Court is also on Waqf land.
So I believe that observations don't really make what will be the final outcome.
Okay.
I think the only concern is misuse, sir. At the same time, it's set up by a minority. Therefore, one has to be very careful in making encroachments. So that's why I believe that the court will really have to take a lot of care before it decides what is going to be the final outcome. What the court observes is not what you necessarily see. I mean, ultimately what the court is saying is that they want to be careful. They want to be careful that there's no misuse. I think that's the main concern.
Okay.
So
No, on the concerns that have been mentioned, my apologies for interrupting, but, the opposition has also been saying that it has been passed in a hurry, and it has come up in the court as well, where the Solicitor General has also mentioned that there was a JPC that had been formed. There have been multiple, about 38 sittings that the JPC had done. It has been argued in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha as well. So do you think the argument that it was passed without consideration, do you think that the top court will consider it?
So look, the top courts can't look at this aspect that it's done in a hurry. It has to see whether it's hit by any of the of any breach of any fundamental right. There will be legislation which may be necessitated to be done ASAP, and as long as pass musters of Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, it can only be tested in the courts. Now, it's done in a hurry. I don't think that's a very valid argument.
Okay.
What is a valid argument is if you are saying that the objections which are valid under a breach of fundamental rights have been steamrolled, so that the Supreme Court looks at it from that perspective.
Okay.
And looks at it from a perspective, are we violating the rights of any minority institution, the Waqf boards being set up and functioning as such. Now, there is an apprehension, there is misuse, how best to correct it. And one of the grievances seems to be, should a Hindu be there, or should a non-Muslim be there? And so I don't see any harm. Ultimately, we are looking at it from a secular viewpoint.
Okay.
As long as you're not committing breach of a fundamental right, who is on it should not make a difference. Because ultimately, we don't look at who is imparting justice. I mean, once you are sitting in a seat where you are doing quasi-judicial or administrative or judicial functions, you are not any longer somebody who's representing a religious denomination. You are beyond that. But the question is, are they feeling that it's being trampled? And this is something the court needs to look at. Are we trampling on anyone's rights or not?
Okay, all right. Ms. Geeta Luthra, thank you for joining us. We have Atul Jain also joining us on the broadcast. Atul Jain, what do you make of what's happening in the top court? Will the observations that the top court has now said, including saying don't ask for a stay, is that an indication of what could happen? What do you make of what happened in the court?
See, the top court saying that don't ask for a stay does not give any hint of what probably we are going to see on merits, because a stay order being granted or not granted is never an indication of what will follow as the main relief. But then what I personally believe is, when there has been so much hue and cry over the passing of the Waqf bill in the country, it is good that the matter has reached Supreme Court, because even today, the common man, the public of the country, it believes in the top court. So whatever Supreme Court decides will be, I mean, I expect it to be, will be, I mean, agreeable to everybody. While coming on to the objections, the major objections that have been raised by the petitioners, one of the objections that has been raised is that Hindus will also be part of the boards. So that was one of the objections that was raised by the leading counsel for the petitioners, to which I am told that the Chief Justice of India said that the court doesn't see any problem in that. Another thing that fell from the bench was that all the old monuments, the Muslim monuments, they will be safe by coming of this Waqf board, like the Jama Masjid and all those Muslim monuments.
Okay.
So this was also the view of the Chief Justice of India. This is very important thing to note. Well, one another thing was...
So the centre has defended it tooth and nail in the court as expected. Thank you for joining us on the broadcast. We also have Mr. Vineet Jindal joining us on the broadcast. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Vineet Jindal, you've seen what has happened in the top court. In fact, in the latest that we are seeing, while there were deliberations on what it could mean with the CJI saying don't ask for a stay, the CJI has also told the centre that there is some clarity that is needed. Some of the clauses need clarification is what the Chief Justice has said to the Solicitor General.
Yes, that's why the petition has been filed, and the Attorney General has been represented the centre. So whatever the question has been put by the Supreme Court Chief Justice or the other senior most judges of the Supreme Court, definitely the Attorney General will answer it. And if there is something which the CJI has been there is some kind of clarification is needed, then definitely.
Okay, we're facing technical difficulties. I'll come back to you. Let me just get an update from Deepankar on what's the latest that's happening in the court. Deepankar, we're seeing fireworks in the floor of the court as well. Take us through the latest update.
Well, yes, there are being some arguments given by the Solicitor General of India, who's apprising the Chief Justice of India, and has the Supreme Court has also raised questions to the Chief Justice of India and have said that there are certain clauses in the new Waqf bill that has been introduced that need some clarification. The Chief Justice of India has said very clearly, has asked that when you say dispute, is it before a court or otherwise? So it is clearly an indication that there are certain clauses, there are certain terms, there are certain references that have been made in the bill which need further clarification. Justice Viswanathan has also come in along with Chief Justice of India and has said that some of your clause requires clarification. So these are the certain arguments that are being made. The Chief Justice of India has also asked and said that why or why not Waqf property, allow the court to decide it, why not? So clearly it has said that registration of, it has raised questions regarding the registration of Waqf properties, where Solicitor General Tushar Mehta has said that registration of Waqf was always mandatorily required. Even Waqf by user had to go through Waqf by registration. So these are certain arguments that have been made by the Solicitor General of India, and there is a to and fro between the Solicitor General of India and